Well, that's good. So far, everything's moving. I still haven't gotten up and moved the camera down.
Picture been around for like 45 years.
Yes.
Check this.
That would be great.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That, and so.
Hi, Adam.
Did
you, nice, bike that you got. I saw you getting. What kind is that?
Say it again?
What kind of bike?
Oh, it's a Kawasaki LR.
Oh, okay. I didn't recognize. I'm not that familiar with it. I didn't recognize it.
Good on guys.
There,
Yes.
I know, and that's fine. That's fine with me right now. Let's get our act together totally and then I'll, because we, on the list there. Yeah, but does that work?
I'm just looking it up, the schedule is doing it, it's a different code,
No news is good.
so we'd have to change that.
Yeah,
But,
and I know they paid for something, and I don't know exactly what it was.
right, but we can schedule it.
Yeah,
We'll have it recurring.
okay.
I was just looking at that, so I do know how to do that.
Talking about piece of interest.
Okay.
7 o'clock.
Yeah. Today's solar farms.
I got a part some around. Oh, you're welcome.
It's 7 o'clock. It's 7 o'clock and call the meeting to order. I'm John Whetstone, chairman of the board for right now, at least.
Adam Fraley.
Jacob Wortel. Steve Eddy.
And one of the things we have to do is determine if we have a quorum, which is a 5-man jury, 5-man board. We have required at least 3. We have 4, so we do have a quorum. We can conduct business and vote on the applications. We need to approve the agenda. Have you seen a copy of the agenda, Steve?
I have, and I make a motion that we approve the agenda.
Okay. All right, all in favor? And the minutes of last month's meeting. Everybody seen those?
Those were a recent arrival in my inbox and have not seen them.
Okay. I made there's some typos that I corrected. And so I have a revised one, but it's strictly typos. Nothing like Leachfield was 1 word and it should be 2 and things like that.
We accept the minutes.
Okay, Adam?
Skimming them. Quickly.
Okay, here, that's the revised one, and here's the original, and I highlighted what I have made changes to.
Okay.
Acadia Yurts, I changed that to the official title that's in the application. And Ed Levinsky's name was spelled wrong and I corrected that. So that's the highlighted things and what Adam has the revised one. I don't know how you can read it on your phone, but anyway.
I'm okay with it. Looks good.
Okay. Motion to approve the minutes from last month's meeting.
Second.
All in favor? One other thing that was done, Jacob, you weren't here, but we did an approval for the aircraft hangar. And there was one item that signatures were missing on page 2 of the application, and they have since provided that information. I believe there's some copies here. Yeah, one. They also had to provide the certification that that signature was from somebody who had the right to sign it, which they have. So that closes that, and Angie has moved on approval for that application. The next application that we had continued is the Acadia Starlight Retreats application. So if you'd like to present that.
This is the site plan, and this is your, blueprint.
Okay.
That's the ordinance in Jacob.
No, this is the.
Okay. That's not the latest. It doesn't have the
Fire, so.
yeah. Yeah, no. Nice.
Yeah.
Yep, we had from our minutes of the meeting, Lisa Winger, who is not here yet, may be here towards the end of the meeting. There's a list of what was required.
Not hearing. Like, Mom, can you speak up a little bit? Or
I'll try.
these microphones work?
The microphones work, but they're for Zoom.
Zoom.
And there are no speakers here that these microphones will play through.
Can you just speak up?
I will try.
You could move over there.
Well, I couldn't because I already asked them that, and I can't sit at the table.
No, I mean, over
Yes.
to the file cabinet or something.
He's gonna be doing most of the talking.
I hope not.
I hope not.
Time will tell.
I'll try it. I'm here because I just want to hear what's going on.
That's fine.
Make sure.
Yep. Al, if you could, since you're presenting, if the two of you, Leah, if you could move up to this area and you can speak into the microphone when you need to say something so that we can do it on Zoom. The list of what was outstanding, I'll read it to you and just comment as we go along. One of the items, civil engineering sign off, as well as completion of a 50-year drought study, which would include 3 inches of ice. And this is for the fire
Yeah,
pond.
It's not gonna happen because of the DEP, so as you could see on the plan, there's a 10,000 gallon fire tank going in.
Okay.
Right by the leach field as the fire requested.
See, there's extra sets here if you want to see. Here's the,
Thank you.
that's the site plan. And I don't, these are just of the yurts, so
That's the, yeah.
we'll talk about that in a moment. So, Steve, are you satisfied that that will meet your,
10,000 gallon cistern is originally is what I had proposed. So we're just gonna check and make sure we have access. I'm sure the access is here and such, so just trying to find it from over here, so I'm just gonna. Place it.
I don't know, right here. You see it? Okay.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. That's not us. Are you sending around? Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yep. Good.
quite an improvement of what we had before?
Next week.
Only touch out of the couple more hours.
Yeah.
We had the environmental guy do the check on the other requirements.
Right.
Yes. I have lands.
Yeah, he wrote something to Angie and that was sent to me. Yeah. Angie asked me to provide a list of what we needed, and basically what I said was what was in the application, what the planning board needs to see in order to approve it is all listed in the application. Mhm. And Angie's already approved the septic,
Yes, the leach fields and stuff.
and you're working on that or have worked on it?
Yep.
Okay. You see it? You, okay?
The only other thing that I was wanted to make sure is that we actually ran this through the fire marshal's office for the construction permitting, because this is lodging and room board or hotel motels, so
Yep.
they have to review it for accessibility, or they need an engineer to have it reviewed for accessibility. and
Yeah,
such.
that is on the list.
Yep, okay, that's on the list.
State Fire Marshal's Office contacted RE Occupancy for lodging,
Okay,
so,
whatever that report comes back, so.
yeah. Obviously, DEP approval of pond, that goes away since you're doing. Where? Oh, I see it. Okay. Buffer addressed per LUO district requirements, and it looks like you have moved the yurts back and you're providing vegetation.
Some of it's already there, but I will definitely provide.
Okay, you're aware of what is required for the,
Yes, sir.
yeah, okay.
Believe me, I don't want the yurt people to be able to see the ugly Route 3 just as much.
Yeah.
You don't want Route 3 to see the nice yurts.
You can put a picture of them out there.
No, it's good. I'd rather have it vegetated.
Yeah, this is, I think, much better than what you originally proposed. Soil report for drainage.
That's the soils overlay. That was given to you for the last meeting.
Okay. Road material and width.
He has that on the plan there. You talking about impervious area?
Yep.
It's on the plan. I think it's 1.24 acre maybe. Somewhere written right on that job. And the note, big note.
Okay. Okay.
Al, can I look at a copy of
Of
that?
course.
That's an updated one, right?
Yes.
Here's, this is a site plan.
Okay, thanks.
Um,
Wait,
And last item on our list is fire department requirement of a 20-foot wide road with a 110-foot area for rescue apparatus turnarounds.
Yes. You will have at least that.
Steve, do you see that on?
I see the turnaround. I don't see the actual, numbers for it, for like the turning radiuses and stuff like that at the time, but hopefully you'll get me that. So that you know what, there's a thin area here over the culvert. So this kind of,
Yeah, you know.
this needs to tilt down a little bit here,
20 foot from.
20 foot, so it's maybe 20 feet, all right? And so,
Over here, what happened is we didn't get to complete it yet, so we just put what's existing right now.
okay,
So you see that on the drawing? It's this turnaround here and the road.
make that turn.
Yeah.
I need to turn radiuses,
Yeah.
so I can, be able to make that turn, so I don't have to stop, back up
Right.
and such,
So
so.
we.
Yep, yeah. So, yeah, so if I can get turn radiuses here,
Yeah.
and, obviously it's like a little bigger than 20 feet wide based on.
Yeah, it's pretty
like, so. But yeah, it's this turning radius here and this turning radius here, we have to get in, you know, so.
So that.
All right, awesome, thanks, great.
The proposed septic, is that what's installed now? Or is that,
Leaching field?
well, it says proposed septic disposal field.
Yeah, that's installed.
Okay,
57 side feed chambers.
why is, it shows SS, why is there a gas line running to that? I mean, other than the
Yeah, gas, where do you see that?
it has SS all along there.
That's sewer.
Oh, okay, but here it says proposed underground gas line.
For S, well, I guess Dave Moyce made a mistake on that, didn't he? Because sewer, that's a sewer line going in.
Okay,
Just like that's a sewer line going in.
yeah, that's
So
why
I'll have
I
to bring
asked.
that up to him. I mentioned it to
I
him.
mean, there will be some gas
Yeah,
in
we
there,
made a
but
mistake, huh? So, yeah, so he's got a G underground gas line, but yeah, that's a mistake. S is also gas
Underground-
line. Yeah, it's supposed to be.
underground
sewer. I'm sorry,
septic.
John. I noticed that. He actually got, I would have brought it to you sooner, but he only got that done yesterday and delivered it to me, so.
okay. Now, let's talk about the design of roads. One of the things that the planning board has been wrestling with is what do we call these? Are they cottages? Are they cabins? Are they yurts?
Instead of a thin cover of fabric on the outside, it's got.
Just the wood, plywood.
But you're calling them yurts because they're round and they've got oh, yeah, they look like
It's got the same skylight and there just has every other yurt around.
Yeah.
Everything, it's a yurt. It's considered, they consider it a unit.
Okay,
So factually, they made only a year. They
They only
eliminate
make
the,
years.
something.
okay. But terminology for us is, in this case, is everything. And cabins would be more appropriate. We've discussed this. And that's one of the things we've been wrestling with is what to call them. How about calling them cabins?
That floats your boat, John, whatever you want.
Your cabins.
Would that terminology impact the way that we consider them in terms of land use?
Yes, I believe so. Adam, what do you, any issue on?
I know we brought up the definition of a subdivision, which is 3 or more dwelling units, I believe.
Yes,
And I'm struggling with whether or not these are dwelling units. And I was reading the definition of a dwelling unit in the subdivision plan, which is a room of or suites or suite of rooms used as habitation, which is separate from other suites or suites of rooms, which contains independent living, cooking, sleeping facilities, including single-family houses and units in a duplex, apartment houses, multifamily dwellings, and residential condominiums.
now
That's
you,
let people live in them all year. And subdivision to me, where I'm from, I know that we're not where I'm from, but that means the land is getting sold off in pieces.
it can also mean that a structure is being divided into sections to accommodate multiple families or whatever. Hang on a second. Yes, Greg. Yeah, you're trying to get into Zoom?
We don't have a meeting ready or anything.
Yeah, yeah. Jessica's here and that's an issue we've got to resolve. So I'm afraid there's really no way to get into it. Yeah. Sorry. Thanks, Greg. Bye-bye. That was one of our planning board members who wanted to get access to Zoom. And because we're using the select board code, the select board doesn't have a meeting scheduled tonight. You can't get into it. So anyway. Wait. All these technical issues. This is only the second time that the planning board has used Zoom for their meetings.
Good.
So it's kind of a learning experience for us. We have other lodging areas out on Route 3 that are calling their separate units cottages. And they are not a subdivision. The two of them that are there have never been called a.
Which two of those?
Let me call Greg back quickly here.
It's possible, once the fire marshal's office reviews the plan, you may get a little more designation.
Greg,
as they
hi.
look at it.
Jessica found what it should be. So try the meeting ID of 305-719-7820. And a passcode of lowercase r, lowercase p, lowercase g 209. RPG, all lowercase. P as in Paul. Ralph, Paul, George. That's not the correct phonetic alphabet, by the way, but anyway. And I should know what it is. We'll see you pop up if that works.
There's my inclination to say it's a 30.
I'm gonna hang up on this.
It's a 30-foot diameter wooden structure. Whether it's a
Circular or,
square, some kind of
yeah,
other kind of component, solid, whatever it is, we kind of treat it the same.
and what's allowed in there is hotel, motel, other lodging facilities.
What was the last one?
Other hotel, motel, other lodging facilities. And I think this easily falls into the other lodging.
Yeah.
But if we start calling them yurts, that falls into the glamping, camping, and there is no camping in this district allowed, according to Angie. So I think if we call them either cottages or cabins, I think we're okay. So
Yeah.
let's call them cabins.
Yeah, these are robust looking structures.
Yeah.
Definitely
And
beyond plan.
Al, you said that they don't have a kitchen or they don't, so they're not,
There. There's no kitchen, nothing there.
okay.
Yeah, that fridge, no.
So I think that furthers it not being a subdivision.
Yep.
Great. Yes. Do you want to come on up and state your name and
Susan Sargent. I'm concerned on your yurts, because I know a yurt's just sold down the road from us on Bayside Road. And that is an actual yurt that has the regular spring raised ceiling, everything.
on Bayside
Bayside Road.
for short-term rental?
No, it's a house, so it's still classified in yurts, and it is thick built. So
Who classified as a yurt? The owner did?
track. Because of the style.
Did
The
Ann,
style the thing is built,
okay,
classifies it in yurts.
and Angie,
This was years ago that this was built, and it just sold.
Okay. because
So,
we had one on Route 3. There were two of them, and a member of the planning board at the time actually built them, is how we found out. They had never been approved, and we disapproved them. And so the people sold the house and moved.
this just went for 300
Here,
year.
wow.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know, there are stick built yurts. It's how they're made. They don't have to necessarily have the siding, they can.
Okay. We're still gonna call them cabins because camping sites are not allowed in that district.
Yep,
Excuse me. So Greg is in. Hi, Greg.
Sorry.
Oh, that's great. You are the test pilot for this.
Okay. Can you hear me all right?
We're discussing the Acadia Starlight Retreats application, which has been continued 2 times. And they have provided drawings of the cabins that happen to be round, and also updated site plan, which was done by a professional and coordinated with Angie.
Okay.
Do you remember any issues? I've gone through the list that was part of our minutes. Do you remember any issues that you had with that project?
No, I read the minutes, and then the only thing were plans for the yurts themselves, and then also a diagram
You
for
mean
where they're going to
the
be placed.
cabins?
Okay, the
And
cabins, the round cabins then.
yeah,
And then a layout as to where they're going to be located. That was
okay,
on
we have, that's one sheet for the yurt, I mean, the cabins.
okay,
And another sheet which details the interior and kind of the exterior with window placement and so on. And there are no kitchens included in these, which is what you were told at the first meeting.
correct. And these are going to be seasonal, not year round.
Seasonal. Seasonal. Mhm.
They are seasonal, and that was
Okay.
something we asked at the first meeting, whether they could be torn down, and the answer is no, but they won't be used because they're not heated or insulated. Yeah,
And are they going to be on concrete slabs?
Yes. Well,
Do we have the fire marshal's review yet?
and the windows, the doors, they all, match the size for emergency.
Full egress, everything.
Yes.
Steve, have you looked at these? Here, we haven't seen them till tonight either, but take both of these and see what you think.
And the window size is open size of 0.9 meters.
Okay.
And from the first window to and under 1 meter, so because for emergency.
Right.
And the door and the opening 2.3.
So what's the gas length for it?
So
It's just for the, combination of It'll be out there.
And that's thing.
I'll be looking at your eye outside.
Thing our marshal's office is gonna look at.
Yeah.
They're gonna look at everything, they're gonna look at interior finishing, look at accessibility and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why you have to go through them to
Yeah.
get that,
Mhm.
that, their blessing,
Things
so.
that
Yeah.
protectors, window, the door,
Okay, so they're not electric, they're propane. It's,
Came out, well, yeah.
and that's for the bathroom. Okay, no kitchen.
Only.
It's got a refrigerator and a little sink there.
Similar to what you'd find in a hotel room.
See from the design, no, bedroom and
Okay.
no kitchen,
Okay,
That changes the requirements for the.
right?
any issues? Adam, do you see anything remaining?
Not off the top of my head.
I have a question about the second floor. Could you describe it as a loft? So it's only half of the upper floor.
Yes, only that.
And what do you have for a barrier here? I just see a dark line.
Oh,
Oh, that's cable railing, the new cable railing.
Okay. And how high do you intend that to be?
that's about 2.6 meters high.
It's pretty.
0.6 meters, okay. great.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
thank you.
What's the square footage on the house that's existing 3-bedroom house.
What team, what team, what team 10, I think that.
And that's not intended to provide any
No.
rooming or anything for this. You're,
Our residents.
That's, yeah. friends.
okay. All right, I think we should go through completeness review. You have that in front of you at all? I can,
You read it off?
yeah,
Yeah.
I certainly will. These are documents required for the completeness review. This is part of the application. It's page 3, and it requires us to go through these items and consider if it's been provided, missing, or not applicable. And then we sign off on that if we agree to it. So it's we determine if it is or is not complete. Required submissions, a plan of the area showing contours at intervals to be determined by the planning board, high water level, groundwater conditions, bedrock, slope, and vegetative coverage. You've provided that, I believe, in the site plan. Do you all agree? Location of existing and proposed building, parking areas, traffic access, driveways, walkways, and landscaping. Provided. Plans of buildings, sewage disposal facilities, and water supply systems. I think that. A soils report identifying the soil's boundaries and name with the soil information superimposed upon the plot plan in accordance with USDA Natural Resource Conservation Service National Cooperative Soil Classification. This was put together by a professional who does that. And he has indicated the wetlands and everything is identified on here, I believe.
At the last meeting, Tommy, you gave a soils overlay too.
Yes. Yes, and we have that as part of your proposal. That's that. So I think that's provided. Location of any portion of a public water supply source the location of any portion of a public water supply source water protection area that lies, that's not applicable. There is no public water provided here. A report of a licensed site evaluator indicating the suitability of the soils for a sewage disposal facility. You've already gotten approval from Angie. That was, I believe, Bill LaBelle did that. So that has been done kind of separately. Important habitat areas identified in the comprehensive plan or the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, beginning with habitat program. The application shall demonstrate that there shall be no adverse impacts, that's a typo, not habitat and species it supports. A report prepared by a wildlife biologist selected or approved by the board may be required. Report shall assess the potential impact of the development on the significant habitat and adjacent areas and so on. In here, it's indicated that there is
In the airport that they got the sandpiper or something.
upland sandpiper habitat state threatened per state of Maine's GIS database. So that is indicated on here, and you're not proposing to build in that area. So we're okay on that. Good, because I don't want to have to read it again. Other pertinent information necessary to determine if the proposed use meets the provision of the ordinance. I think over the 3 meetings that has been provided to our satisfaction. And Angie has also reviewed what Al has provided. So the Trenton Planning Board has reviewed the application and accompanying documentation and determines that the application is complete. And there are no exceptions to this part. So I'm going to sign it.
Pending the fire marshal's review.
We can get to that with this is just okay, compliance review. Page 4 of the application. Factors for Trenton Planning Board consideration. Section 5.3.4.8 of the Trenton LUO. Compatibility of the proposed use with adjacent land uses. I think we're okay on that. Access to the site from public roads, including the adequacy of access points. The DOT has signed off on that. There is a letter that they provided. Well, Al provided from them. Layout and design of off-street parking and loading, unloading area and vehicular circulation on the site. I think that what he's provided is adequate on this site plan. Do you agree? The amount and type of waste to be generated by the proposed use and the adequacy of the proposed disposal system. That's Angie's already approved that. So we have to go by what she's approved. Location of the site with respect to flood hazard areas, and the wetland has been delineated here. And has that area ever flooded?
No, I was wondering when I was reading that, John, how do they figure that? Are they considering ocean flooding or 50-year rain flooding? It's weird, right?
Yeah,
It's hard
it
to
is.
say, because if you figure my elevation is 80 feet there,
You're not going to have,
I would think we'd have some ocean flooding.
well, not yet.
Right, yeah, but
Yeah. There are
it's
some,
a touchy, I
Yeah.
don't know how to figure that,
yeah,
it's not worded properly, right?
I agree.
Okay.
Provisions for control of runoff and drainage, which your site evaluator has shown that that's okay. And I mean, you have a house on that land.
Yeah, it's been, you know what, really nothing's changed.
So it's not as though this is totally new
Look at the
construction.
Google, it's always open back there, just grass. I mean, we just stripped off
Yeah.
the grass, really not much change from what was there. And next door to me, there's a drain, drain that goes out to everything that runs off the grass field goes to Carol Leland has a big drain on the property there with a 12-inch pipe going out behind Edwards.
Okay.
Everything runs out to where it belongs.
Impact of the proposed use on groundwater and water supplies. Impact of the development on municipal services, including roads, fire, and police protection, solid waste disposal, and other services and facilities. You're obviously have hired somebody to dispose, either GOTS or whomever. All right, findings. Proposed use is in conformance with the standards of Article 4 of the ordinance. True? Question? Anybody? Yes, true.
I think it falls under other lodging. I was just looking at.
Yeah.
Other lodging places.
Okay. Proposed use will not result in unsafe or unhealthful conditions.
I just crossed my mind, we don't have plans for the 2-bedroom cottage. Do we need those?
Oh, you're talking about the owner's residence?
Yeah, proposed 2-bedroom owner's cottage.
Yeah, that's not even close to happening now. That would be future.
And that would have to go through Angie for,
Yeah, I discussed that. You can't.
okay. Yeah, you've worked closely with Angie
Yeah,
on
but you know,
all of this stuff.
I work with her all the time. She comes and
Yeah.
inspects the systems, I put in all the time. I mean, I work with her every day on this.
So no air or water or land pollution. Not, proposed use will not result in undue erosion or sedimentation, which I think is true. Proposed use will avoid problems associated with development in flood hazard areas. You're not developing back in the wetlands at all. The next one, significant, will not result in significant damage to spawning grounds, fish, aquatic life, bird or other wildlife habitat. You've identified where the sandpiper, I think that's, will conserve shoreland vegetation. That's not applicable since you're not in the shoreland zone. Okay. Compliance review decision. Approved. Do you believe that that should be a condition, Steve, for the state fire marshal approval?
The state of Maine laws required,
Yeah.
so yes, it probably should be.
We
and
can
then-
easily do that.
Yep, and then, I would like to have
The radiuses.
the radiuses and, what you're actually putting in for the tank, so I can see what you got.
Yeah.
And, make sure you get the
I
right
mean,
codes
Steve,
for it.
Yeah.
Just good to see that submittal.
Yeah, I was-
So,
Get with you and.
yep, I just need that submittal, so.
Sure.
Greg, can you hear me?
You know better what you need.
Yep.
One of
Yes,
the
I can hear.
last projects in the Route 3 overlay corridor, you mentioned about the roof pitch. needing to be-
Correct. I think it was 5.5 to 12. I think it's referenced in the minutes that were produced for last month's meeting there.
Trying to figure out the pitch on these.
Yeah, you have your little map here. So I'll height on this thing. This will probably it's.
The height of the roof is-
It'd be 2,540 millimeters. So,
Yeah, the build might match the, the mean, the snow load, wind, everything. Most of
Yes,
that.
yes. Right, snow of 90 PSI.
Yeah.
They're supposed to. Turn radius for 5 hours, turn around, must be more than 2 feet.
Yeah, 5.5 by 12.
When I saw.
Now, there's construction permitting.
That
Work for you?
Yep, it does. Couldn't have said it better myself. Is there anything?
John, one more thing, I need a Knox box for that facility. Fire department access, well,
Yeah,
yeah, so you're probably gonna have a master key for all those suites.
Yeah.
Alright, so we would find a place somewhere here where we put a knock back.
See, 1 second, what are you doing? Were you doing, you said coded key doors, numbers? It's not gonna be keys, it's gonna be codes, right? Numbers. What did you tell me?
Actually, it's the keys, but if you want the code, whatever. we
Keys
can-
are fine, either way, we just wanna.
No, I'm
make
out.
sure that it's
Great in the-
Most wait, but I'll actually have a master for each one.
Okay,
by
yeah.
opposite.
All right, so that would be great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
I hope I never have to come, but
Right.
Yeah.
Me
you know, somebody's there and they're.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I get you,
Gotta
yeah.
get in.
did
Yeah,
you find
Just makes things easier.
anything?
You may not be, you may be in Bar Harbor having dinner or
Right.
Ellsworth somewhere and
Right.
you just need to be able to get in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are approving it with the conditions that Steve has listed.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Finally, right? We've seen you like 6
Well-
times, 3 times informally. Jeez.
It's a learning experience
It is. It is.
for everybody. I'm the only
You've been
original
here since the
planning
beginning,
board.
yeah.
I looked it up.
For a while. We were here about 3 times and you weren't.
John.
Thank you, Steve.
Yes. Think about, I tried that too.
I needed a little break.
Yeah.
That was during the time when we were discussing all of the solar issues. And Mark Remick was chair at the time, and I still did all of the revisions to the LUO, and I have have them all filed. There were at least 20 revisions that were made during that process.
Yeah.
Right, right, Greg?
Yes, quite a few.
So is everybody gonna eventually be sitting up there and this will be in the end? You have to come down.
No ability.
So you'll work with Angie now for a building permit
Yeah.
to do the rest of it.
Yeah. I want to, I didn't think it has to go. We're gonna need that, actually, right?
They're a water plan.
Yeah.
Their whole permitting process does everything that you need to see.
You don't need them.
Does Nate Polio have any representation?
No, there's,
Talked to him today, he said he was gonna be here.
it's being worked on, and we're waiting for another application, which will include what needs to be done on the land.
Wow,
Has the work stopped?
it has. Yeah. Yeah. Well, he
DEP.
just said he was gonna be here, so.
Yeah, DEP did visit the site.
Who did?
The DEP.
DEP.
Oh, DEP, yeah,
Yeah.
they find everything in order. I was kidding.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
All right, well, that's why I'm here, is because Nate was gonna be here
Well,
Again.
again.
that, there will be a new application, and that will be posted in the Ellsworth American for prior to the meeting that he is planning to present that.
Any idea when that'll be?
Not a clue.
You think it'll be this year?
Oh, I hope so. Yeah,
All right.
I believe it will be. He has a site evaluator now working on that.
Okay,
So it will be
My,
made.
my problem wasn't what he did back there, although there's some issues, but my
Right.
problem was the traffic
I understand.
and,
There may be traffic going the other way with loads.
well, it's just,
I don't, or
You take-
maybe it'll be redistributed. I don't know.
you take,
It's whatever the site evaluator will require to meet DEP approval.
you know,
My environmental guy went over there, so he made a real mess. A real mess.
he did.
And he said he's in trouble if he, from where he stands.
You're an environmental guy or
Yeah,
Nate?
that's who did my plans because, you know,
Yeah.
moist and
Yeah.
moist.
Yeah,
He's
and
in- that's what he said. He's in trouble. I said, he's
Yeah.
got a lot of money, you know.
Basically,
That's what it comes down to, you know, basically. Right?
He buys land and does what he wants.
Exactly.
That's what he says to us.
All right.
Hey, dropped your pen. Jack.
okay.
Nice to see you guys.
You're lucky you didn't complain about my project there.
I'm not, the-
No, you're a good neighbor, good man, Ed.
yeah, I'm just wondering where Lee got the hat. I was thinking about getting one of those.
Yeah, you need to do that.
Thank you very much.
You can go home now.
Thank you.
You guys want to?
Okay,
Yeah, can I have one second?
Yes, yeah, the-
You might want to stay to hear about short-term rentals.
What do you mean? It might not.
What?
I'd go home.
So,
They're talking about short-term rental, we should stay and listen. We should stay and listen.
What's that?
okay. You went to the select board last night.
Yep, I stopped by the select board to get some direction, insight into what could be done, should be done. In regards to short-term rentals, we had a letter submitted last month for the planning board. Outlining some issues they were seeing on Nutting Lane. And also it's been brought up numerous times, I believe, to the planning board before I was here and to the select board. And it's also happening in towns all around us. And that's the fact that a lot of single family homes are turning into short-term rentals that are more or less commercial enterprises. And those are in residential areas, and there's a lot of schools of thought around it, whether anything should be done, how strict it should be regulated. Based on what the select board had to say, it's in the planning board's purview to create ordinances if we deem fit. Propose them to the select board for them to approve or deny. They did say that it's would be up to us to host a listening session or a comment session, which I personally think would be the next best step. Any changes would have to be voted on by the town at either a special town meeting or the annual town meeting. So it is a bit of a long-term discussion, but in the short term, it's in our lap as the planning board to address. And before diving into it too much, I would think we should schedule a listening session or a public
Or
comment
a working
session.
session, yeah.
And try to get as much publicity out about it as possible through Trenton Town Crier, newspaper.
Any working sessions that we want to schedule have to be posted at least 2 weeks before in the Ellsworth American. But putting them on Town Crier would be an excellent thing to do as well. And I think as the planning board, what we need to do is establish what we expect the end result to be, that we want to put something in the land use ordinance, which will identify what the requirements are and see where we go from there. But if we establish what we expect to see from these working sessions and planning board meetings. I think that,
I think we
Yeah.
also have to do some due diligence around what other towns are doing in our county. And what we expect to see should come out of the listening session, I believe, you know.
Yeah.
If we get an overwhelming majority here that says they don't want to see any changes, that's one thing. If we get a overwhelming majority here saying they're heavily impacted by short-term rentals and we need to see restrictions on that, then those are two different ways to go.
yeah, and I know, Steve, you've had some issues with existing short-term rentals with along smoke detectors going off because the batteries are dead
Right, yeah.
and you get the call
Fire
out.
department has responded to short-term rentals where, um, they're having a problem with their devices. And the rental folks are not responsive, or they just get like a call center. And there's nobody there to assist the people. So it's kind of sad, because I'm in a rock and a hard place. Their devices are activating, there's no fire, and now the people that are responsible are not being responsive.
Yeah,
So yeah, there are some things that we need to do. And then if I take that hat off, we live by a short-term rental facility that occasionally, when depending on who's there, they're up till 2, 3 in the morning playing music, having a grand time. And I get it, they're on vacation, but it's in the rural residential area, and it's a little disruptive to the community.
yeah.
I have a question in regards to that and this letter that we got, the gentleman on Nutting Lane. Why are short-term rentals not considered home occupations, or falling under the home occupation limitation in the rural residential?
Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. These are all the issues that we need to look at.
I believe a home occupation is if like somebody wanted to be a carpenter or a welder
Or,
and have a shop in their house, but they live there. It's actually more uses that are allowed.
But a regular commercial operation is not.
So yeah, you couldn't take a house and turn it into a welding shop if you don't live there.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to speak to that, because, I'm Susan Sargent again. As you know, my husband has a garage, and every year we pay a personal property tax on all the tools he uses to fix cars. You know, we paid tax when he bought them. Every year we still pay tax, because we're making money with that. And that's the personal property tax bill. You see a lot of listings, some businesses are in there, some are not, in the town report. So these people are using their home to make money. It's their personal property. They should be taxed as such. But we pay a value, and our tools do depreciate over time. But like when? He's had these tools for some 45 years, some even older than that. When does it ever end? Okay, so houses are based on value, our tax base. Shouldn't that also be personal property? They should also be registered. These, you know, short-term rentals, Airbnbs, pay a registration fee, be inspected, have their fire vets, have their homes all inspected. And I think there's definite revenue that could come to the town for this. But I know a neighbor of mine rented their house 20 weeks last year and made $20,000. Right in their pocket, we got nothing. So, but yeah, I know we're tired of paying tax on the tools.
That is something else the select board brought up, was a possible revenue generation. And I see you guys want to talk. It is on the agenda tonight, so anyone that's here to speak to it.
That's my dad letter you're referring.
To, so, yeah, 49 Lane, Stephen Woods. I think one of the questions really is the difference between owner occupied And it's, oh, I'm using a short-term rental, or they're just gonna rent out my cabin for a week or for a month. Versus what we're seeing now, which is, oh, I have a house, I have a garage, so I'm gonna make that garage into 4 or 5 units. And now I'm gonna rent out everything.
He's a the person we're talking about is, he doesn't live here, he lives in Massachusetts, he doesn't intend to be here perhaps more than a week, a year. He's running a commercial operation on a small dirt road. We don't, 10 to 12 people potentially a night, we don't have 10 to 12 people in the immediate 6 houses that are affected. So the noise, the traffic on our road, not that you guys can do everything, but we have a shared well. We're taking what is 10 people on a shared well that's been pumping for 50 years and putting an extra 14 people potentially a day. We're really concerned. We're very concerned. And then it falls on us to spend our money to hire an attorney to sue. We also have deed restrictions that prevent everything he's trying to do. So now we have to hire an attorney and spend our money to fight him. It's just frustrating when you're talking about such a small residential area with these commercial operations.
I do get your point about the owner occup, or the, what's that different there? And I think that really the difference is when you start talking about, oh, somebody's renting out the cabin, now they're renting out 4 or 5 cabins on the same lot.
He's got 2 buildings.
Yes.
4 bedrooms in one and 2 bedrooms in the other, so 6 bedrooms.
So then it starts becoming, okay, it's not even owner occupied. Is it any different than a motel up on 3?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it sounds like the restrictions on commercial, like if it was a welding shop or construction operation, the same thing, the traffic, the noise, the stuff that the rural residential zoning was signed.
Yeah, we support, it's a private road, so we take care of the road, so it's gonna be so much more wear and tear on our road. It's just a lot of people in a small residential neighborhood. And deed restricted, that's my thing. Like, there's a deed restriction that prohibits what he's doing, so now we've got to sue. That's our option. He's got $1 million into this place.
Yeah,
Now,
that's part of the problem is that the letter that we got
That's what my dad.
from Nutting Lane, that's an association, and the town can't regulate that.
Yeah, but they
Neither
can
can the association.
regulate preventing short-term rentals in residential neighborhoods like this.
Yes.
Or putting severe restrictions on them,
Yeah.
something. Right now, we've got nothing, and we're just faced with having to pony up the cash to sue them.
I did mention the deed restrictions to the select board, and we can work on these ordinances for the long term. They were pretty clear, and it is gonna be a civil suit, yeah.
No, but they also state like this, for the ADU law that Maine put into effect, it specifically states that they can't do anything. It doesn't
override.
It doesn't override deed
Deed
restrictions.
restrictions.
So like, I guess,
I think it does have some effect on some of the zoning.
yeah, so if
What they
Trenton
can-
were gonna allow
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, because we have specifically assigned districts, and that is in the rural residential
Yep.
district. And there's certain things that are listed in the ordinance that are allowed in that district.
Short-term rentals is not one of them.
That's correct. And I know when, the issue is kind of strange, when back in December of whenever it happened, but the planning board was approached by somebody who wanted to do the 30-acre solar farm down off of Route 3. We had nothing at that time in the ordinance that allowed solar farms. So we had to say, no, we can't approve it. And that's when we started to write something up that would allow them. And that eventually got turned around, but we can do the same thing with this. We don't specifically allow them, but we don't disallow them. And that's the problem. But what we're seeing is the one that's near Steve, that was built specifically to be an Airbnb or a VRBO or whatever, a short-term rental. There's a house, fairly expensive house off of Bayside that's called Seascape, Sunrise Seascape or whatever. That was built specifically to be a rental property. And I believe there's one next to it on the shore that's also being built for that purpose. When Angie gets an application to do a building permit for that, if everything is in order, she can't deny that. It's not her job to say, what are you going to use it for?
It's just, here's the building code.
Exactly.
Right.
If it meets all of the codes,
One of the things is that you go in, you start and say, I'm gonna build a single family home. And then once you get your certificate of occupancy, you can do whatever you want with it.
yeah,
That,
or even,
right now, and that turn it into that commercial occupancy, or commercial, property. And it's like a loophole. Even though, to me, when I read the land use ordinance, there are areas where short-term rentals or lodging facilities are allowed, but in our rural residential,
they're
it
not.
doesn't stipulate that they are allowed. But it
Right.
doesn't say that doesn't say they are or aren't, it just doesn't mention them in there at all.
But one of the problems we're dealing with is, I know that Angie
Concerned
did a
about,
mapping
yeah,
program where she delineated where these short-term rentals are, and I think she found over 80
Mhm.
just in Trenton. And here they are.
Yeah,
That's a year old.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Can't imagine how many are not registered.
Yeah, exactly.
And how do,
from a fire.
Sure.
protection s- Go
What
ahead.
I'm about to say is for the, when we have a public forum, but this is actually a much, much bigger issue. If this continues, what is it doing to our community? It's removing, we all know affordable housing is a problem everywhere, but it's removing access. Where are our teachers going to live? Where are our health workers going to live? Where,
Mhm.
we could just let this go and, they'll sell out at a high price and the 10, 15 years down the road, you could close the school and the irony is you would be saving money because families can't afford to live here anymore. I mean, I think that needs our attention.
And how do we go back and regulate the ones that are already there? That's a big issue. But to do, if they're already doing something
They have to
through
stop doing
VRBO, how do
rentals, they
we,
have to rent it out year round.
how do we force them to register that with the town?
And then you
We
get
could-
affordable housing.
the- how a lot of
For
times-
year round.
Is that, the oversight is not based on what they're actually doing, but advertising it. And then if they're in violation of advertising for a place that they shouldn't, then they get a fine.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point.
So towns require registration and a registration fee and required inspections and
Right.
penalties for non-compliance. There's an area in our town where there's a whole slew of homes that are now being used as short-term rentals and they have fire pits and the people who live around there are deathly afraid of, just misuse. Somebody comes here on vacation and they've never dealt with a fire pit. Do they know they're supposed to not leave a fire unattended? It's like just an analogy that just
Yeah, well,
screams at me as I spent a number of years working at MDO Biolab. And these really talented students would arrive in the summer for their summer internships and they'd say, oh, a dock, I'm gonna dive in. Really? It's low tide and there's only 2 feet of water, or it might be high tide and the water's under 50 degrees. It's just,
well, they only do it once.
but, a fire in a situation
Yeah.
like that.
No, and I know we have problems with rentals and they do a fire out on the beach and the smoke is blowing in. We have to close our windows. We don't want to close our windows. We like,
I think
Yeah.
the public, getting public input on this will be
Yes.
highly enlightening. I'm gonna be putting out a newsletter next month if you wanna have room in that to either advertise it or put a survey in there or, We can
Yeah.
talk more about that later. I'll
Well,
let you know.
Jacob brings up a good point that if we can just go on VRBO and see what properties are for rental and track it that way and Airbnb and so on.
DNA, so if you look it up, you can create an account, a free account. It gives you limited access. We can see that much. I think it's airdna.com. And I had mentioned this last night. I just want to show you. I attended, and I mentioned it to you, John, too, that I attended a workshop that Hancock County Planning Commission did, and they had a couple of people present. And this is very blurry, but I wanted something to show you. This is a snapshot of part of Eastport, where they have really sophisticated. They are able to identify the year-round residents, people who live out of state and own property, people who live in state but don't live there. And I plan to get back to them because it was just kind of mind-boggling to see the resources that some of these people have, just to see maybe they could help
Yeah,
us.
do a
with this.
database that'll.
Are they also, are they the same sort of company that would contract with towns or to assist in enforcement? I know there are some outfits that do that as well, like oversight of, say, being violation of advertising restrictions.
Not Hancock County Planning Commission.
Oh, that's who gave you.
That's where this came from, right? But if they, my thought was if they can develop this kind of data to help everybody in the county here, this is the kind of thing, and I had mentioned, I think last night, and I know I mentioned to you, I was at a League of Towns meeting a week or two ago. Susan was there too. And of course the subject came up, and I realized we need to work together too. It would give such power. The reason there are so many short-term rentals in this area is, you'll see when you go on AirDNA, Ellsworth is rated very highly as for investors in this type of property. And the reason is it's because of the lack of regulation. And if you think about it, the Ellsworth zip code includes a lot of us. So
I found that out when I was researching it as well. It came up quite a bit. Here's where to do it, because.
yeah, go here. They'll let you do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You can have these if you want.
Great, thank you.
A lot with their Airbnb registrations and stuff, so you might want to get with the planning board from Bar Harbor. Pick their brain on how they're getting theirs done.
Yeah.
One more thing. If you look up the Ellsworth American online, there's an article about what towns have done. And if you look at that, somebody's done a survey recently. You can see where towns are on this. And Trenton was quoted, Trenton's chief code enforcement officer was quoted as saying, there are informal conversations here, but most towns are not doing anything, but it'd be interesting to look at.
More and more will. I mean, I think with the ADU law, which allowed taking a single family home, and I get the idea behind the law is to increase the housing stock. But when your housing stock is from Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem.
That,
That's the problem.
that defeats the purpose.
What he bought it for. He bought Mark Remick's house. He says,
Oh, yeah.
to do this. He never intends to work here.
Yeah, I think we're seeing more and more of that, where there's a lot of money to be made with the short-term rentals.
And he's not listing them, as far as I know, on any of the sites. He's doing it himself. So maybe, I don't know how he's gonna market it ultimately, 'cause it's not ready yet. It will be shortly, but he's not managing himself. So there's a lot of those out there probably too that don't get
Yeah.
put on the sites. So
Yeah, and if they do, if they do it on Airbnb or VRBO, they're paying I think it's 9% tax but that goes to the state.
Yeah.
The town doesn't see any of that.
That live here year round, they go to the campground and rent their houses out.
I may speak, and I think I'm gonna keep my back to the wall because I short-term rental my house.
All right.
Good afternoon. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm Jake Shelters. I'm actually Sue's neighbor. I appreciate the thought to have an open forum because obviously myself and maybe one other are pretty outcast in this conversation. I don't disagree, and I'm not saying there's no problem with it at all, but I would highly entertain the idea of letting others speak, because some of us do use our primary residence, but we're actually living 6 months in a campground so that I can rent the house.
Yeah,
My money's staying in the town of Trenton. The profits I earn, but we're not getting rich off of it. As Sue said, the other neighbor made 20,000. I paid 36,000 for childcare this summer. So this isn't to get rich. This is to put my kids and get a good education in the town of Trenton. That would be my piece. Is yes, there are people who take it to the extremes and they own 100 homes in different states, and that's how they make their living. But also understand there's folks who are doing it to put their kids through school. I worked for the US Coast Guard and I didn't get a paycheck for 3 months out of the year. I worked for the federal government, so to be able to make and supplement my income in another way is necessary for some of us. I've got many friends in the area, many neighbors in the campground who are doing the same thing. And I promise you, unless they're pulling the wool over me, that they're not getting rich off of it. It's to provide an income to their family, to their children, which living in town in a campground in town is going right back into the community. So I would just appreciate an opportunity for others to speak out. I know I'm the odd man in the room right now, but I appreciate the opportunity, and then allow those others to kind of share the story of what they're doing. So,
and that's what we want to do, is in the workshops, hear from everybody who has an opinion, pro or con, and we have a lot of good ideas of how we can move forward with this and make sure that these properties are inspected, that they're not going to, cause issues, make sure that the campfires are safe and aren't affecting adjacent neighbors. There's just a lot of issues. And, whether that could be considered, if they have a campfire and they have this and that, is that a campsite? Which wouldn't be allowed in that district, maybe. These are issues that we have to look at. And the planning board is,
and you actually make the distinction, I kind of agree with you. Is once you start saying, oh, okay, well, is somebody in the thing, they're gonna do short-term rental, out their cabin or their house over the summer months or something, it's like, okay. But then once you start building multiple ADUs, then it becomes, how's that any different than a hotel?
Well, you probably don't have 14 people a night. We're
Well,
looking
just
at
with my
potentially
kids there.
14 people.
Well, that might be more. They're probably good kids.
And to, one of the things that we find is that people who live here are responsible.
Right.
We're finding the problem that we really, from the fire department's response, is that when you show up and these people have called the people that rented them and there's absolutely no response.
yeah,
And that becomes a problem. It really becomes, because what's gonna happen as soon as I leave, they're gonna take that device down. And now they're putting their whole family at risk, everybody else in the area at risk. Because the people aren't being responsive. So, and I mean, Bar Harbor's done it for years, where people rented out their house in the summertime because they could make some extra money for it. But they lived in the garage while they, they were close by.
yeah.
I think where we're running into it is we're seeing that disconnect from the large, the folks that are just buying up properties as investments, and they collect the money and then that's it,
And making multiple ADUs because
yeah.
now it's, because there's, you can do as many as you want, so then it just becomes motel.
This
Right.
sounds like a discussion about responsible use of natural resources, like housing is a scarce resource in the town. And there are some people who are using it sustainably and some people who are extracting the resource.
Well, and part of the problem is that, in another issue that the planning board is working on, is bringing our ordinance in line with what the new state requirements are for housing. And there is definitely some overlap there, because how now, if the state is allowing you to build multiple houses or to turn your home into a, multiple dwelling units, or do you above the garage or whatever, now those are fall into the short-term rental issue. So there is definitely overlap, and the planning board is having to work on both of those issues.
Keep in mind, the new law, the new legislation is to help provide affordable housing. and
Yes, yes,
So it's clearly a different activity.
not short-term rental, but yeah, how do you tell the short-term rental people that? How do you say, wait a minute, you can't do this in compliance with what the state law is, but you can't turn it into short-term rentals, but you can rent it out for, say, a visiting nurse who's here for 6 months.
Right.
There's a fine line there.
Yeah, several years ago, Ellsworth had an ordinance that said if you build one of these accessory dwellings, for the first year, you cannot rent it out short term. And this was actually Jenna Richards who told me that when she was working for the city. And it didn't really work, but I'm wondering if there are other ways, if we think about it, there are other ways to try to.
And what's the definition of short-term rental? Is it nightly, weekly, monthly?
Less than 30 days.
Okay, so yeah. I know that's accepted and written into ordinances of the towns that have done something.
Sometimes the term short-term rental almost obscures it sometimes, because, people have been renting their cabins out in Maine for years. Ever since, they started putting cabins up here, which is different, than, or even in your case. Hey, I'm putting mine up for the summer, or for a week in the summer, or there, and I'm gonna go move in the campground.
You're still around.
You're still around, but it's different between, oh, now I'm just breaking up my house. This part of it is this ADU, this one's ADU, I'm gonna put an ADU out the back, in the back, I'm not gonna live there, and now I'm just gonna run it all out. But you'll go down to 3 and say, oh, we're gonna regulate the motel down in 3 because they have 3 cabins.
That fundamentally sounds like a density issue, and I think you guys have a great civil case, and hopefully you can recover all of your legal fees. Yeah. And unfortunately, it doesn't sound like we can help you in the short term.
Short term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that it's important for the planning board to remember, it sounds like 2 primary fundamental issues are life safety, so making sure that these homes have the proper detection systems, making sure that the owner or a property contact is available and registered. Those seem like easy things that a property owner can do to make sure that their tenants are safe and that the fire department is prepared when they show up. And then the other fundamental part is nuisance. And there already is a noise ordinance in the town, and part of the issue is, I believe there is, I've seen it.
There is.
Yeah.
But there's no enforcement.
No, there's noise ordinance written into the LUOs, so. Exactly, no one to enforce it, so that's an issue in the same realm of this discussion, is because somebody might be against short-term rentals just because they're noisy on the, because they're here on vacation. But we have a noise ordinance and it can't be enforced, so that's kind of a separate issue. But I think that we need to evaluate the new ADU laws against our ordinance. I think that should be on the agenda for next meeting. And I think that we should schedule a town listening session for August 12th, which is 2 planning board meetings from now. And I believe that gives us a significant amount of time to publicize it and review the ADU ordinances in the meantime.
when you publicize it, can you put it with, what Zoom link you're going to use?
Yeah, and it should give us some time to troubleshoot Zoom, because I'm sure there'll be
Yeah.
a lot of people that wanna get on to that.
Oh, I've seen much worse Zooms. Believe me.
Well, thank you, I appreciate your time.
Yes, thank you.
I'm just gonna comment, when the solid waste committee had a public meeting earlier this year, it was very successful, because there were probably more people there than at the annual meeting. So you wanna check with them, see how they.
How they advertise it? Is that how they advertise it? Is that what you're talking about?
The solid waste committee,
Yeah. Yeah,
they had a very well attended meeting.
So I don't know if it needs to be two separate motions, but I would motion to add review state ADU ordinances to the July agenda and to host a public listening and comment session on
well, let's call it a workshop.
workshop,
Yeah,
short-term rental workshop for August
12th.
12th, yeah.
Okay.
So ADU review in July,
Okay.
workshop, short-term rental workshop in August.
I like how you're keeping it narrow. About safety and about nuisance. There is the broader town values discussion. But that might be more in the comprehensive plan wheelhouse.
And you're on that committee, right?
Right, but I feel like there needs to be dovetailing. I'm not sure exactly where the lines between the two are, but.
Yeah, there has to be lots of discussion between planning board and that comprehensive plan. They can't be operating separately.
No, I mean between like our narrow focus.
Yeah.
Like those are definitely planning board things.
Yeah. I kind of asked the select board a little bit about that, and they said that the comprehensive plan is making this agenda or goals for the town in the long term, but we might not see a publicized plan for over a year.
Yeah, they've got, I think, 2 years to do that.
Yeah, and in the shorter term, the planning board should be making an ordinance. Yeah,
pressing.
More pressing, yeah.
Yeah. And for the bringing our ordinance in line with the state requirements, Angie has gotten a $50,000 grant and has hired the Munson Group to do that. And they're actually working with Southwest Harbor, Northeast Harbor, and I think with Angie and Tremont. So they're very well attuned to what needs to be done. And they're going to take a look at our ordinance and make recommendations on what needs to be done for that.
So we have a timeline for that?
I don't know, because they've just gotten started on it. I was told by Angie this week.
I wonder if we'll have any input by August 12th.
Oh, probably not. No, I think it's longer term than that.
John, can I say something? Can you hear me?
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, should the planning board, in anticipation of a public hearing, say we would want to license the STR, the short-term rentals, B, keep in mind that some people need the income to pay for childcare, their property taxes, but also we'd like to establish some guidelines to lessen nuisance factors, establish some guidelines for health and safety reasons, and and distinguish between hosted versus non-hosted short-term rentals. But at least say these are the types of things that the planning board are looking for. You're looking for input from them, but I think we need to say these are kind of things that we're looking for in coming up with an ordinance.
Yeah,
You can look at, City of Bangor's ordinance, I thought was really good. And I had come up with a draft, for an ordinance patterned after their ordinance, kind of covering these guidelines. They're not really restricting short-term rentals with the exception of, non-hosted short-term rentals. But certainly, with hosted short-term rentals, it's not really an issue. And regardless of the ADU law, I think the town can define restrictions or certain bans on short-term rentals in certain districts if they want to. So regardless of the ADU law, they can build an ADU, but they may not necessarily be able to use it as a short-term rental. So,
yeah, and the issue there, Greg, it would be, obviously we can do that on new ones, but how do we address the ones that are already up and operating?
well, I think they still have to come under the same regulations and rules.
Yes, yes.
So, they're not really grandfathered in to continue business as is, but they need to be licensed, they need to register with the town, they need to be inspected, they need to follow the rules and regulations established by the town. You're probably not going to prevent necessarily short-term rentals from happening, but you can put some restrictions on them. So
Right.
You're going to have trouble restricting them from residential neighborhoods only because that's where the waterfront properties are. But you can put regulations on those properties. So
Maybe even.
for short-term rentals.
Maybe even a number of short-term rentals per lot.
Right. And you can limit the number of, one person can only have X number of short-term rentals. Other towns do that. You can restrict, if they have multi-unit properties, you can say, well, you can rent up to 50% of those ADUs or whatever, but not all of them, kind of thing. So I think you can establish, whatever regulations you'd like to place. Other towns have done that, and other towns have done it differently. But we need input. But I think we need to say we're looking for establishing a certain set of guidelines to limit the nuisance factors, to promote health and safety issues, make sure the state gets its 9% lodging tax. Distinguish between, hosted and non-hosted so that you don't have these out of town landlords that are advertising their short-term rentals. So, and other towns have put limits on those in their ordinances.
I agree, Greg. I agree with what you're suggesting, and that is to provide at least an outline of these issues going into this workshop for August 12th, so that we're not starting fresh with all sorts of comments that by the end of the meeting, we've ended up with just a bunch of comments that we need to act on. We need to provide more of a focus. And I'm sure that the August 12th is not going to be the only workshop that we have on this issue. And they don't necessarily have to be during, on the same date as our planning board meetings. In the past, we've held workshops in between. So that but that then tasks the planning board with meeting every couple of weeks, which doesn't last for very long, or we don't want it to last for very long. But anyway, I think we need to prepare, the planning board needs to prepare something for the August 12th discussion workshop.
Something that we can come up with at the next planning board meeting.
Yeah. Yeah.
The framework.
Yeah. And that obviously we've got the capability of putting up whatever we come up with on the screen and going through the items that way. Jessica has become an expert on doing that, and they did that on for the the person who presented the solid waste put up a presentation, went through it line by line. That worked out well because it kept everybody focused. Okay. And by all means, if anybody else wants to make any suggestions and email them to us. And one of the things, one of the suggestions that was made that I want to look into is having town email addresses that go to the planning board. Has the select board talked about doing that?
No.
You mean?
Be having conversations outside of public meetings.
Right.
You send it to Carol and she.
Not even on issues like this. It's not,
You could collect information.
yeah, because it's not an we're not working on an application. I'll check with Fred and Angie on that to see what's allowed. Yeah.
Doing a workshop kind of thing.
Right.
I think you wanna stick to the guidelines.
Well, the Freedom of Access Act limits what we can do, certainly.
I noticed, like, the solid waste committee, I think, has an email. So people can send questions and then get addressed at meetings.
Okay.
But I think planning board operates kind of at a, you know, in terms of law, it needs to be at a higher.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'll verify that. Okay. So we can't talk at all. No, I understand what the issue is on that. If you get three of us discussing something that can be voted on, that's not allowed.
If two of you meet up in Hannaford, you can say anything you want to each other, is
Right.
my understanding. If a third one comes along, you better separate because it doesn't look good.
Yes, no, because that can be considered a quorum, and then that group of three can then
Making
vote
decisions. But
yeah.
we're appointed and elected to be doing the public's business in public, and I think
Yep.
that's really important.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay.
Can I just add in, like, when that discussion happens in August, maybe, I know narrowing it down to different things, but adding in there the difference between, or discussing residential homeowner, like this is your residence renting versus you are an investor and you purchase property and you don't live there, like, can that be thrown in as the topic? Cause I think that is gonna be really key in this small town.
Yeah.
For people, cause I agree, if you're, you know, you live here year round and it is your home and you move somewhere for the summer to rent it, that's a totally different than you are an investor and you just bought up 3 properties in Trenton to run it as a business. Not saying that the home one should not be held to the same standard of having to register and fee and pay or whatnot. But just making that part of the topic in
There's a lot
discussion
of
for
family
everybody.
homes
Yeah.
and, you know, groups and stuff. that need to be-
You can send me an email on that. It's just the two of us.
Or just make a note of that, any one of you.
Interesting.
But just part of discussion.
There was a whole bunch of us on the Oak Point Road got the same letter from some corporate conglomerate looking to buy all our properties. You know, saying we wanted to sell because it's
For that
open
reason.
for business, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
oh, yeah.
yeah, so.
Yeah.
Well, who owns the one near you? Is it,
I have no idea.
are they in-state, out-of-state?
It's an LLC.
It's an LLC, so. Yep.
Yeah,
So there, I mean, there you go, it's an LLC, so.
and that probably has crossed the line from residential to commercial.
I would think it would, you know, because it's not it's not a person's dwelling, it's a
Right.
property.
It's not a residence, it's not a residence.
So,
Just as a party house.
and it was advertised as a party house, yes, it was.
Is there any way to limit the number of beds per room in these places?
So there are the HUD guidelines, urban, housing and urban development guidelines that say how many people should be able to occupy a certain dwelling, and, can you exceed that slightly? Yes. But usually 24 is, really.
Way beyond.
And I think there's different considerations in this commercial property versus.
Yes, yeah.
Well, yeah, because we have the places right out on Route 3 that are commercial, that have cabins. We just approved the so-called yurts.
Yeah.
Cabin, and.
But
that's
John,
a similar thing, they're able to operate as a commercial entity in that district.
We didn't approve them for short-term rentals, we approved
No.
them as buildings.
Right.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
but John,
they won't allow 12 people to live in that one yurt.
Hopefully not. Yes, Greg.
well, can you go back and review their septic plan and see how many people
Exactly.
they can, so if they're hosting more than that septic plan can allow, I mean, you can create a violation right there, so.
And that's part of the licensing. The people would have
Right.
to, in order to get a license, they would have to come with the plans, and it would have to show what the septic will handle. I mean, obviously, when they come for a building permit to Angie, they have to have that septic design. If they come to us for approval with an application, part of it is that they have to have a septic and a well design. And that should be part of this registration licensing thing, is they present that. And if it's over $50,000, they have to have the state fire marshal approve it, correct?
That is true, yes, yeah.
So that's all part of of licensing. Okay. I think enough said tonight. I make a motion that we adjourn.
Do we need to? I made a motion about adding stuff to the agenda and the August meeting.
Yeah,
Second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Greg. All right. Now
I second the adjournment.
all in favor? For you. Thank you.